Okay, welcome everyone to our discussion of Darkei Talmud. In this chapter, the Rabbi Yitzchak Konfliktone discusses the boy in the Gemara and Ihachi, these two different moves in the Gemara. And we're going to discuss today, the last time we got together, we did the boy, we're going to do now the Ihachi and see what he says about that. This move in the debating process. So he says like this, La'olam b'chol lashon Ihachi, if what you're saying is true, hanoheg b'talmud, yesh lecha lishmor techila ki kol hamaksha b'lashon hamaksha Ihachi, kavanas lama, everyone that asks the difficulty based on this statement, if so, Im kain kamosha marta, he means the following. This is the kavanah. Im kain kamosha marta tikshi lechazer. Vim eino kain nira she'ein lo kusha. Niklal hain ata shamei alav. So he says, here's his first rule when it comes to if so. He says, since he said if so, so it means if it's true what you said, then I have this difficulty. But of course, if it's not true what you say, then my difficulty falls away. So the first rule here is that the Ihachi is always based on the statement that the Baal HaMaimar said. So the Maksha is going to say, oh, now what you said is true, then you have the following difficulty. Of course, if you wouldn't have said that, you had said something else, I wouldn't have had this objection. It's only if A, then B. Only if A, then B. Okay. Ulechen yeshach alayin ketzad nolad ha-kusha ahi midivarav. So then you have to say, well, what exactly was it that in the words of the original statement that gave rise to this kasha, because the kasha was only based on what that statement said. The general way that Ihachi is used in the Gemara is like this. The person who was attacked, Reuven, gives a teretz to his opponent Shimon. He gave a teretz. So Reuven says, well, I am now saved by saying this statement, this teretz, to Shimon's kasha. But what happens? The nodalo kusha chers. But unfortunately, his teretz to the first kasha produces another kasha. Be'inyan shelo yamale miyoso muksha. So in such a way that he does not escape from the onslaught of Shimon. O min hakusha rishona, either from his first kasha, o mitzad kusha shniya, o because of the second kasha. V'hine nofal mima shaborach al derech hanas min hapachi poel hapachas. I looked that up. It's a quote from Yirmiyahu that says, he that flees from the terror will fall into the pit, and he that gets up out of the pit will be snared by the trap. Okay, and that's I'll bring upon her even upon Moab the year of their visitation, says Hashem. Okay, whatever it is, the point is that you think you're going to escape from one problem and you fall into another. That's his point here. Okay, so that's how it's generally used. It's generally used that a person thinks that he's going, Reuven thinks he got out of the problem of the kasha of Shimon, and Shimon says, no. Now that you said what you said, now you fell into a greater difficulty. V'im yomar lo, if the Maksha says Ihachi, Rotz Lamar, here's another rule he says. Shimon, when he says Ihachi, means the following thing. Bishlema imlo tamar lach li kain. if it would have been fine if you didn't tell me that first teretz. And then I would not have had this new kasha against you. Now, not only does my first kasha stand, but now not only do you have my first kasha, but with this new teretz, you're going to have even another kasha. So if that's true, says Shimon, what did you gain? Now what you have to be careful when analyzing this language in the Gemara, Kizos hakusha hanoledes atzer ata hamaksheses b'losheni hachi b'lav hachinami yomedes hakusha. And what that means is what you have to pay attention to is that the new kasha, even without this new kasha, the first kasha still stands. That's what he says. Another rule is that the ihachi is only based against the proponent. In other words, Shimon, who attacks Reuven tries to get out of the problem. Shimon says, ihachi, you have a new problem. So he says this new ihachi should be only a kasha to the opponent. What does that mean? Roslama. The Shimon says, hey, everything works out well to me. But according to you now, you have a worse problem. Now, if it works out that that new kasha that Shimon brought up to Reuven also can be thrown back at Shimon, so then Reuven will say, then Reuven will throw it back and will say to Shimon, wait a minute, even according to you that new kasha is not good. And then, remember we learned in there at the Funos, what will happen is that Shimon will have to get out of the problem, and Reuven will sneak out of the problem like Shimon got out of it. Okay, I hope that was all clear.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Hine, be'ez kazos kavana hamaksha, la'amod tzvorato asher hi menegedes el hamataritz. What the maksha is trying to do is to establish his position against the teretz of the first proponent. Shimon is trying to set up his svara against Reuven's svara, and that's why he's attacking him. Olakayim kusha rishona shehuk shalo, or he's really not trying to set up his own position, but he's just trying to establish that his first kasha is really good kasha by eliminating the second, by eliminating teretz that Reuven gave. Ulifamim ein kavana hamaksha b'zeh. Sometimes the maksha kavana is not. Rak lehoros v'nitotz divrei chavero v'lo kedei la'amid svarato. Sometimes his aim is only to destroy his friend and not to set up his kasha. We have to say, why was that different than the little b over there? Again, hine be'ez kazos kavana hamaksha, I'm reading here, la mitzvarato, asher hi meneges el amataretz, olakayim kusha harishona shehuk shalo. Okay, that second one is what I just said, ulifamim. Ulifamim ein kavana hamaksha, rak lahoros letos divrei chavero, v'lo kedei la mitzvarato. So the point is that in the ihachi, Shimon is really trying to establish Mekayim his position by knocking out Reuven. Okay. There's another possibility where no, Shimon just wants to knock out Reuven. He doesn't have an alternative. And that's what he's saying here.
All right, okay.
Okay, ורק להריץ נתיז דברי חברו ולא כדי להמיץ פורתו, רק על דרך ממון משך. אם תומר זה, if you say your position, you're going to have kasha 1. ואם תומר זה, and if you retire it with this, then you'll have another kasha. So, I'm going to ask you a kasha mimei obey. From what you said, you're going to end up with this kasha, and even if you mataritz me, even if you answer me this way, you'll be in trouble. So I'm not really trying to set up my own sheet. I'm just trying to get you in a mamamashach. It's either what you're saying leads to a fallacy, and even if you mataritz the fallacy by this answer, you're going to be in trouble. So therefore, you have to be careful. This is a very important point, a very subtle point. He says that the premise of the person asking Ihachi can't be something that is mukhrach, that it must be. Because if it's mukhrach and there's no other alternative, he can't say bishleim l'didi, says it's good to me, says Shimon, but to you it's a kasha, because if it's something that's mukhrach, so then it's not b'shleim l'didi, it's b'shleim. It's obvious to me. It's also, it has to be that way to you. The point being that an ihachi, as we just described in Tfunos, is a hypothetical. It has to be hypothetical. It can't be in reality. It's not this, therefore that. It says if what you're saying is true, which means I don't know if it's true or not. But
if it were to be true,
then you'd have this following kasha. That's what he says. Let me see. Why does it have to be? He can't say the D it's good. If it's a mukhrach teretz, if the kasha is mukhrach, if so then this follows. If it has to follow, so then I can't say b'shleim yudi. You have to agree with me. V'hechrach, you have to agree with me. V'im kain eino prati zos hakushu rak mishuteves l'shneihem v'yoshiv lo hamakshu ididach minicha. Now that's a hard statement, which I don't exactly understand the context here.
V'im kain eino prati zos hakushu rak.
I know what the words mean, but I don't understand what it means in context. What does it mean, Mishutevis? Mishutevis means if Shimon asks a kasha on Ruvain throws a kasha back on him. The kasha exists in both camps. Right? So the E says, Ihachi should only be one directional. That Ihachi means it's b'shleim l'didi, it works out fine with me and not with you. If it turns out that it's no good to both of us, so then Ruvain will say, wait a minute, it's also no good. So it has to be that it's a hypothetical, because if it's a vadai, so then both of them either have to agree it's true, or both of them have to agree it's not true. That's what I think he wants to say. So it has to be only a hypothetical position. Maybe through this example, we'll be able to understand it better, okay? That's what he says. It's a davar she'efshal hisparev b'metzias yosvo. It cannot be. Okay. Okay. Let's see if we can get that a little better through this example. He says, "K'deisa Masechet Nida, Bereish Perik Aleph." Okay. So I put in gray what's not in the book, because he shorthands the whole thing, and you have to get a little background, or else we don't know where we're holding the challah. In neither there's a Mishnah that says like this. Kol hayad hamarba bedika b'noshem mishubachas u'b'noshem tikatzes. It says every hand that increases to check, when it comes to women, it's very praiseworthy. When it comes to a man, his hand should be chopped off. Rather dramatic statement. Okay? So women, the more they check, the better it is. And a man, if he's checking himself, the less he checks, the better it is. That's what the Mishnah says. Okay. So the Gemara says like this. The Gemara has a shayla. Ma'ishna noshim umashna anoshim. Question: how come when it comes to women, the more they check, the better it is? And when it comes to man, it's not so. The more it checks, the worse it is. So the answer is like this: Noshim la banos hargoshaninu meshubachas. Since women, when they check themselves, neither. So since they don't have sensitivity in that area, so the more they check, the better it is, because they keep their husbands away from a suffix neither. But man, the B'nai Hagashinin, who are, that part of their body is very sensitive, so if they check all the time, it's very bad. That's what the distinction was. So we had a question: why did the Mishnah make a distinction between men and women? The radical distinction, where one is Meshubach and one is totally a Menai. And the answer is because women, it's good for them to check more because it doesn't do anything. They're not so sensitive. But a man who's very sensitive will have a carry if he checks too much, so it's better that he doesn't check a lot. So the Gemara has a kasha. Ihachi my arya marba. Ki lo marba nami. So I understand the kasha, but the kasha is like this. Wait a minute. If you're saying that a man is very sensitive, so why does it say it's only usher? His hand should be chopped off only if he's marba. It should be even any time he checks, even a normal amount of time. It should be usher. Because he's so sensitive that any touching of that area should cause a carry. Or can cause a carry, therefore he shouldn't be doing it at all.
This relates to what we were talking about before in Shapri Guy and all of some. The question was, he said, all, and you're asking Hachi, that Hakam says, right, Marba is like an all and a lesser amount of some.
Oh, so now we're going to have to really analyze that carefully, as you're saying. But the important thing I think to notice here is this word marba. It says kol hayad hamarba lifto. That's the no-say. Everyone who does, I don't know how to say in English, an increase of a lot of bedikas, that's the no-say. So right. With women, it's mishubach, with men it's not. So both of them are talking about marba. To do too much for a woman is, to do a lot for a woman is good, and to do a lot for a man is bad, right? But they're making a deal. What do you mean to do a lot for a man is bad? If you're telling me that a man is very sensitive, so only a lot is bad, but a normal amount is okay, any touching of the Ava should be us.
Right.
Okay, so the key word here is marba. Okay, not the call so much, but the word marba. Marba fits with women because they're insensitive. But marba, if your teretz is that a man is sensitive, then marba doesn't fit. Because even a normal amount, let's say, whatever that normal amount is, should be asa because he's so sensitive. That's what it says. Ihachi my are marba. Ki lo marba, if he doesn't marba, nami it should be asa. So the teretz is going to be, I like to make these things in green. The teretz is going to be what? Ki katani marba on al nashim, on nashim. So it's really on the nashim. So what the teretz is that this word marba, called hayad hamarba livdok, but nashim it's mishubachas. But the word marba really doesn't fall on the men. Enochanami. The only one that's marba livdok is mishubachas, is the nashim, and for a man, it's any type of nashim. Afilu lo marba, which is not written there, is also asa. That's what the Gemara does. Okay, so we had a kasha. What's the difference between the resh and the seifa? We had an answer that one is sensitive and one is not. Then we had an ihachi that it doesn't work, because once you say that he's sensitive, then it shouldn't be marba. It should be any amount, normal amount. And the answer was, Enochanami, you're right. Then what we did, we changed the Peshat in the Mishnah. The word marba doesn't go on men, it only one goes on women. Exactly how that works grammatically, you can play with. But that's the steps of the Gemara. So now, the Yitzhak Confidant is going to analyze that Gemara in light of what he said. Because it looks like the quality of sensitivity and not sensitivity is a teva thing. What do you mean ihachi? It's vadai. It's vadai true that the man is much more sensitive than the woman. So what do you mean e? He just told us that the e is hypothetical. It's not. It can't be a fact. It can't be from a raya misateva. And you don't say ihachi. It's vadai true. It's vadai has to be true. So ihachi means it's only hypothetical. But wait a minute, how could it work out as hypothetical? So it seems that the Gemara is looking at it as a fact. So because of that, he's going to now tell us a tremendous chiddush in the Gemara, if we can stay tuned here. So he says, ihachi my arimaba. That's all he quotes, okay, we got the context. Sheyesh lahakshos uvididach minicha kima acher shetiretzu mimetzias. Once there's a teretz that's mitzias, that a man is more sensitive than a woman, so then really the person who asked the kasha should have no more kasha. I gave you an answer that a man is more sensitive than a woman. There's no such a thing as ihachi. It's a fact. That's what he's saying. Since the teretz is mitzias, so no one can deny it. What do you mean ihachi? If it's so. What do you mean if it's so? It's vadai so. You understand the subtlety here?
Yep.
According to him, if has to be hypothetical. It can't be something that's vadai. So what do you mean if a man is more sensitive? It's vadai a man is more sensitive. There's no room for if. That's what he's saying. Wrote Salama, Masha teretz nashim v'la b'nei hagoshin inu. Women are not sensitive. Is mishubachas. Now this, we don't have this. I'll call it chad ravina. We don't have it. It doesn't exist in the Gemara. So it does exist in the very old text, but I didn't look at the manuscript yet. I gave that to my Chaber, but it doesn't make sense here because we don't have a Gemara like this about Ravina, so it doesn't matter. So he says, because of my rule that ihachi has to be hypothetical and it can't be a vadai, I'm going to now tell you the real Peshat in this Gemara. Here are the hachi pirusho. This is the Peshat in the Gemara. The Makshan that said ihachi, after the teretz was a woman is not b'nei agosh and a man is, this is what the Maksha was saying. Vishleim l'didi shani sova shahamishna eno midaberes v'v'dikas isura ela v'dikas muteres kagon matlis o min atar lamata ukdamuki lo hasam b'shma isa nicha. Shal kocha oma marba, ki afilu b'derech zu im marba tikotzetz. So he says like this. There's actually here two sides of an argument here. The Makshin really wants to set up a different Peshat in the Mishnah than his opponent. Okay? Shimon wants to say a different Peshat in the Mishnah. So he says like this. According to my Peshat in the Mishnah, says Shimon, I hold that this Mishnah is talking about a bedika that's mutar. What does it mean, mutar? Either with a very thick rag, so there's not any problem of sensitivity, or from the crown down. Ukdamuki la hasam b'shmita. Later on, the Gemara is going to say there's such a thing as a way to check for a man that's mutter, where there's less sensitivity. So since I hold that the Mishnah is talking about this special way to check, which reduces sensitivity, let's just say the thick rag, so then I can understand why the word marble is used. Why? Because even with a mutter way, if it's marba, it's no good. But if it's not marba, what's the din?
Then it should be mutter.
For a man, it is good. Exactly. So I understand the Mishnah very well. The Mishnah is talking about a bedika muteris with a thick rag. With the woman, of course, the more that she does. But and the man, even the man with a thick rag, that's the chiddush. If he does it too much, it's usher. But if he doesn't do it too much, if he doesn't marba, no problem, because it's with a thick rag. So, Bishlema Lididi, I can explain the Mishnah according to my Shita. Avalididach, but you who hold sober the time of the Misnisim Mishum Hargasha, you hold that the whole reason of the Mishnah is Hagasha. I don't hold the problem of the Mishnah is Hagasha. Why? Because we're not talking about a sensitive area. We're talking about the Bedika with a thick rag. So there is no Hagasha there. Okay, if you do it too much, you'll create a Hagasha. But normally, there's no Hagasha. So I'm very good. But according to you who answered me that a woman has less Hagasha than a man, a fil bedika asura, and therefore you must be talking about a bedika asura. That means without the thick cloth, right? Marba. So then, why did you say the word marba? Even without marba, a little bit should be no good. So I tried to make a little chart here to help us out here. Okay. The Makshan holds that we're talking about a matlas. So we're not talking about Hagasha B'Klal because there's no Hagasha here in the man. Okay, not the woman either. So therefore, the Mishnah works out very good. The Mishnah says, with a woman, the more she checks, the more she checks, the better it is. But the man, if he checks too much, then even the thick cloth will cause a sensitivity. So therefore, it's bad. The woman will never be sensitive with the cloth, the thick cloth. No problem. She can do as much as she wants. But the man with the cloth is okay, but too much is no good. So if we're talking about a bedika muteris, everything works out good. Bishlema l'didi. I can explain why the Mishnah says marba when it comes to man. Ela l'didach, but according to you that holds no, the Mishnah is talking about a bedika surah without the thick rag. So then it doesn't make sense. Why? Because without and also the distinction is between sensitivity and therefore, the distinction is sensitivity and not sensitivity, right? So then it doesn't make any sense. For the woman, okay, you say she's not sensitive, marba doesn't matter, okay. But with the man, if it's talking about without the thick rag, so then why did it say marba? As if regil would be mutter. No, regil should be usher also. Because you told me he's sensitive. So what he did here was he took a simple Gemara where it looked as if the Gemara was saying, the Makshim was saying, Ihachi, if we're talking about Hagasha and non-Hagasha, so then why does it say Marba? It should be for the man usher to do any type of checking. And he said it can't be, since it uses the language ihachi, it can't, it's not an E. It's a vadai that the woman is less sensitive to the man and vice versa. So the language ihachi doesn't fit. Ihachi has to be a hypothetical, which means a possibility that it could be not that way. What do you mean? How could it be possibly not that way? It's a fact that the man is more sensitive. So because of his understanding of ihachi, he created the alternative position. And he said, Bishleim Alididi, I can explain the Mishnah with the word marba because I hold that we're talking about a B'dika Surah. Excuse me, B'dika Mutaris. So even there, marba is no good for the man. But according to you, and we're not talking about one being more, the answer is not, it's not based on Hagasha, not Hagasha, because really there's not Hagasha even with the thick rag, but marba is no good. But according to you, that we're talking about without the rag, without a thick rag, just normal checking, so there you won't be able to explain why it says marba in man. Even any part of man should be us. The diuk is only marba is no good, but normal is good. So then the person who was attacked now has to retract and says, well, I have to change the Mishnah. I agree with my position, but the Mishnah is, when it said marba, it's only talking about the man and not the woman. Okay, that's...
Basically, he's coming at, in other words, he found a way to say that the ihachi here is hypothetical. It's really, he's saying that according to me, where I say it's one thing, it's that the Mishnah could come out okay, but according to you, where you say that the Mishnah is talking about something different, because you say it's talking about where they're not using any sort of matlas or anything like that, then it would come out that you have a question.
Right.
So in other words, so the hypothetical, really, he's saying, according to me, I'm saying that it's one way, but according to you, you say it's something different. That's what we're calling hypothetical.
In other words, it couldn't be. There's a fact here that women are less sensitive
right.
and vice versa. That's a fact. So you can't say ihachi and argue on a fact. Right. So he said, you know what they're doing? They're arguing because they have two different understandings of the case.
Okay, so we're arguing in the case and what the case is, and we're saying
we're arguing in the case, and therefore right. I'm talking about a case where the Hagosh and non-Hagosh is not a factor.
Right.
They're using a matlas.
Right.
And everything works out to me. But you, who answered me that the factor is Hagosh and non-Hagosh, you will not be able to answer right. the Lashon of the Mishnah. So it's a Gavaldic thing what you did. It's again, so many of these things are just unseen to the person who's just doing the kiyush. You have a question, you have an answer, we go. But he says ihachi has to be a possibility. It can't be a fact. If it's a fact, then no one could say What do you mean E? Adai.
Right.
So because of that kasha, he set up the Makshan and the Tartzin, talking about two different cases in the Mishnah. Right. All not written there. You see, right. That's the beauty of it. It's all not written.
Okay, so now I have to look.
But it must be. It must be according to the rules of ihachi. It must be.
Right.
It's
no, that's pretty amazing. Right.
It really is amazing.
Right. Right. So you worked on this week, I see.
What?
Said you worked hard on this.
I worked on it a lot. I worked on the other one also. But Baruch Hashem, these things are subtle.
right.
Once you work on it, you have to go over them. It's not. It took me time to think about them, and I fell into contradictions. I fell into not understanding. Usual. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Baruch Hashem, you got them mitzvah.
Right.
Probably the explicit class.
Okay.
Also, you see, the most important thing I just mentioned to someone else. Nassim wanted this text. The formatting slows you down. Because this book is very small, but the Rishonim say a lot in a few words.
Right.
So what the formatting does is slow you down and break things down to their parts so that you can't run so fast. Because when you run so fast, everything turns into one big muddy fuzz, You think you got something, and it's not. These people speak with a high amount of preciseness. So
Right.
Baruch Hashem, you should be zocher to understand the Sefer. And Nassim told me that the guys in the Kollel area want to learn it there, and it's 10th grade students are learning it, and they're getting
Really?
excited about it, which is very, very important.
Wow.
This Sefer is critical.
Yeah.
I thought this should be the handbook for every student that learns Gemara.
Right.
Okay, the other stuff is very important. You have to know the technical aspects of logic, but this is very. This tells you the style of the Gemara and how it works. Things that that go, beyond the normal understanding of logic,
Right.
Havaminas and all these things. And with this information, all of a sudden, Gemaras open up to the reality of what's being said, and not just the surface level ideas. He asked and he answered. It's not just he asked and he answered. There's two different worlds between the one who asked the question and the one who gave the answer. But Baruch Hashem. Okay. Have a great week.
Okay. Mazel tov on the wedding. Everything should go
Very
b'shat
good.
mitzlachas. And
Thank you. And I think now. Have Shavuos. I don't know how that's going to impact on our learning, but whatever it is, Baruch Hashem.
Shavuos is during the week.
To learn and. Fantastic. So
Shavuos is on a Tuesday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Okay, we're going.
Fantastic. So here we're coming. We're going to finish this sefer, and then when we do Malitza, that really is the whole group of Sfarim to do, and we really have all the Kalim now to do proper analysis.
Right.
Okay. Have a great week.
Okay. You too. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.